It was a warm, golden afternoon in the town of Brightwood, where birds chirped merrily, and the smell of fresh apple pie drifted from Bella's kitchen window. Perched high in the sky castle, a sturdy wooden treehouse nestled between two towering oak trees, Bella and her best friends, Eli, Joy, and Max, were busy organizing their little clubhouse. Eli, the clever one, was stacking old books. Joy was decorating the walls with colorful stickers. And Max, always the goofy one, was trying to balance on a wobbling wooden plank. Bella, meanwhile, was dusting off an old chest when thump. Her hand brushed against something strange. "Guys, come look at this," she called out, pulling out a dusty, yellowed envelope hidden between the wooden planks. The paper was old, the edges crinkled, and a wax seal on the back had long since cracked. Eli rushed over, adjusting his glasses. "That looks ancient, like pirate treasure ancient." Bella carefully peeled it open. Inside was a letter written in golden ink, the letters shimmering under the sunlight. Her heart raced as she read the words aloud. "To those who seek truth and adventure, follow the clues. The greatest treasure is waiting." Joy's eyes widened in excitement. "A real treasure hunt?" Max grinned. "Count me in. Let's find this thing." And just like that, their greatest adventure had begun. Inside the envelope was a tiny puzzle piece and a riddle written in fancy, looping script. "Where prayers rise and candles glow, seek the book that helps you grow." Bella's eyes lit up with excitement. That has to be the church library. That's where we read Bible stories every Sunday. Without wasting a second, the four friends climbed down the treehouse ladder, their sneakers kicking up dust as they ran toward Brightwood's old town church. As they reached the church, they could hear the sound of a choir practicing inside. The warm, golden light from the stained glass windows made colorful patterns on the wooden floor. The scent of old books and candle wax filled the air. They rushed into the church library, where rows and rows of big, leather-bound books lined the shelves. Pastor Luke, a kind old man with silver hair, was placing hymn books on a table when he noticed them. "Well, well," he said, with a twinkle in his eye. "What brings the town's finest adventurers here today?" Bella held up the clue. "We're on a treasure hunt. We need to find a book that helps you grow." Pastor Luke chuckled. "There's only one book that truly helps you grow in faith." The friends exchanged looks. Then Bella suddenly gasped and ran toward the biggest book in the room, a giant Bible resting on a wooden podium. Carefully, she lifted the cover. A glowing slip of paper peeked out from between the pages. She unfolded it and read the next clue aloud. "Turn the page and look inside. The next clue is where the fishes hide." "Fishes?" Eli scratched his head. Max clapped his hands. "The pond, near Willowbrook Park. Let's go." With a quick wave to Pastor Luke, they raced out of the church, their hearts pounding with excitement. The afternoon sun shimmered over the calm waters of Willowbrook Pond. Ducks paddled lazily, and dragonflies buzzed just above the surface. As they approached the pond, Bella squinted at the water. "Do you see anything?" Max suddenly pointed. "There! A small wooden box floating near the reeds." "But how do we get it?" Joy asked, frowning. Eli grabbed a long stick and reached for the box, but it was just out of reach. Max grinned. "Step aside, amateurs. This is a job for a real adventurer." With a dramatic splash, Max waded into the pond, his sneakers sinking into the muddy bottom. He reached out, grabbed the box, and triumphantly held it up. "Got it!" Dripping wet, he wobbled back onto dry land, handing the box to Bella. She carefully opened the lid. Inside was another puzzle piece and a drawing of a giant cupcake. Bella laughed. I know where we're going next. Mrs. Thompson's bakery. As soon as they stepped into Mrs. Thompson's bakery, the sweet scent of cinnamon rolls and warm bread filled the air. Behind the counter, Mrs. Thompson, a cheerful woman with flour dusting her apron, smiled at them. Ah, the young treasure hunters. I see you've made it here. Bella showed her the drawing. We think the next clue is here. Mrs. Thompson chuckled. Well, you found the right place. But first you must solve my puzzle. She placed a tray of cookies on the counter. The cookies were shaped like letters, all mixed up. The letters spell out a Bible verse, she explained. Put them in the right order, and your next clue is yours. The friends huddled together, carefully rearranging the cookies. Slowly, the words took shape. Matthew chapter 6, verse 21. Where your treasure is, your heart will be also. Mrs. Thompson clapped her hands. Well done! She handed them their next clue, a small piece of fabric with a golden star stitched onto it. The golden star glimmered in the light. Joy ran her fingers over the stitching and gasped. Wait! I've seen this before, on the old town flag at the museum. Without hesitation, they dashed out of the bakery and toward Brightwood Museum, where the next part of their adventure awaited. The museum smelled like old books and polished wood. Artifacts lined the walls, ancient coins, dusty scrolls, and even a suit of armor that Max couldn't resist trying to pose next to. In the center of the room, hanging proudly, was the town's historic flag. And right in the middle of the fabric, a golden star, just like their clue. Mr. Davis, the museum curator, noticed their excitement. Looking for something special? Bella nodded. We're on a treasure hunt. Mr. Davis stroked his chin. Ah, I see. Then you'll need this. He reached into an old wooden chest and pulled out a tiny rusted key. This key unlocks something special, he said, with a twinkle in his eye. But you must find the door it belongs to. Bella held the key tightly, her heart pounding with excitement. Where would it lead them next? With the tiny, rusted key clutched in Bella's hand, the four friends raced back toward the sky castle, their treehouse towering above them like a hidden fortress. Eli wiped sweat from his forehead. Okay, we have a key, but what does it unlock? Bella suddenly remembered something. Wait, there's a tiny keyhole in the treehouse floorboards. I always thought it was just part of the wood. Max's eyes widened. What if it's been hiding something all along? They climbed up into the sky castle, their footsteps making the wooden boards creak. Bella knelt down and ran her fingers over a small, almost invisible keyhole. With a deep breath, she inserted the tiny key and turned it. Click. The floorboard shifted, and to their amazement, a hidden compartment popped open. Inside, resting on a bed of soft velvet, was another puzzle piece and a torn map with an X on it. Joy gasped. That's the school playground sandbox. Then what are we waiting for? Max said excitedly. Let's dig up some treasure. The sun hung low in the sky as Bella, Eli, Joy, and Max hurried to the school playground. Children were laughing, swings were swaying, and the air smelled like fresh grass. But the only thing our four treasure hunters cared about was the sandbox in the far corner of the playground. Eli studied the torn map. It says the X is right. Here, he pointed to a spot near the edge of the sandbox. Max grabbed a plastic shovel from a nearby toddler and grinned. Borrowing this for a sec, kid. Then they all started digging. 1 scoop, 2 scoops, 3 scoops. Clunk. Max's shovel hit something hard. The kids froze, then dug even faster, their hands flying through the sand. And then, there it was, a small old chest, covered in dirt and looking very, very important. Joy whispered, This is it. Bella brushed off the sand and slowly lifted the lid. Inside, resting gently on a red velvet cloth, was a tiny glass jar filled with mustard seeds. The kids stared. Max blinked. Did we just dig up someone's lunch? Joy read the small note tucked inside the chest. Even faith as small as a mustard seed can move mountains. Bella's mouth dropped open. Wait, that's from the Bible. Matthew 17:20. Eli rubbed his chin. So, the treasure was faith all along? Max scratched his head. But no gold, no pirate jewels, not even one shiny coin? Bella smiled. The greatest treasure isn't gold, Max. It's faith in God. The friends looked at each other, realizing the truth. They had raced across town, solved puzzles, worked together, and never gave up, all because they had faith. And that was worth more than all the gold in the world. Just as they stood in awe of their discovery, a familiar voice called out behind them. "Well done, adventurers!" They turned to see Pastor Luke and Grandma standing nearby, smiling. Grandma stepped forward and patted Bella's shoulder. "You found it, the greatest treasure of all." Bella looked up at her. "Wait, did you plan all of this?" Pastor Luke chuckled. "Oh no, my dear. The treasure hunt has been hidden in Brightwood for many, many years. It was meant to teach children about faith. And today, you four finally completed it." Max grinned. "So, what you're saying is, we're official treasure hunters?" Grandma laughed. "Oh, you're much more than that. You've learned the greatest lesson of all, to trust in God." Bella glanced back at the small jar of mustard seeds in her hands. They were so tiny, yet their meaning was so powerful. She whispered, "Faith can move mountains." Pastor Luke nodded. "And even the smallest faith can grow into something big and beautiful." That evening, back at the Sky Castle, the friends threw a treasure party. Bella's mom baked a big golden cake in honor of their adventure. They decorated the treehouse with fairy lights. Max made a giant treasure map of their journey and pinned it to the wall. Eli even framed the mustard seed jar, placing it next to their collection of old books and maps. Joy held up her juice cup. "To the greatest adventure ever," Bella smiled, lifting her own cup. "And to faith, the real treasure." They clinked their cups together as laughter filled the night air. And high above, the stars twinkled brightly, as if God himself was smiling down on them. Later that night, Bella sat by her bedroom window, staring at the tiny jar of mustard seeds on her bedside table. The moonlight hit it just right, making the little seeds sparkle in the dark. She thought about everything they had been through that day. The puzzles, the running, the excitement, and most of all, the lesson about faith. She closed her eyes and whispered, "Thank you, Jesus, for the best treasure of all." And as she drifted off to sleep, she knew deep in her heart, this was only the beginning of many more faith-filled adventures to come. Just as Bella was about to fall asleep, she heard a soft tap on her window. She opened her eyes and gasped. Outside, standing on the treehouse bridge, were Eli, Joy, and Max, holding another mysterious note. Joy grinned. "Ready for our next adventure?" Bella smiled wide and jumped to her feet. "Always." With that, she grabbed her flashlight, her notebook, and her sense of adventure. Because treasure or no treasure, she knew one thing for sure: faith would always lead the way.